There's a familiar stench of irregularity and anger over the recent NEET, or National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, a pivotal point of entry for lakhs of aspiring medical students across the country. After years of concerns and anguish, this year's results, the NEET 2024 undergraduate exam, have triggered a flashpoint over suspected malpractice, suspicious grace marks, and an insane number of toppers, totally skewing the result and throwing into turbulence an expected ladder of merit, which is what the NEET is supposed to produce. And as always, students are alleging a chronic lack of transparency that threatens their future in one of the most challenging domains in the country. Today, the Supreme Court has stepped into the NEET battlefield days after India Today took it up, and has issued notice to the government and the National Testing Agency, or NTA, that administers NEET. But this goes beyond just the current NEET and what the Honourable Court finally decides. What we have here, viewer, is a situation where the country's most crucial examination that will give us our next generation of doctors suffers from a dangerous trust deficit right from the get-go. The fact that paper leaks have not been uncommon in the last few years, especially in states like Rajasthan and UP, have only added to student anxiety and distrust over whether they are being examined fairly and on a level playing field. While the NTA has clarified that there have been no leaks this time and everything is in order, the lack of proactive transparency has left room for doubt and speculation among lakhs of applicants. Candidates invest enormous time, effort and family resources into preparing for NEET, and they deserve to know how their performance is assessed. They have no wish, believe me, to go to the Supreme Court and waste even more energy chasing what they don't believe they can prove. Providing detailed information on grading criteria, standardization procedures and mechanisms for resolving disputes should be a priority to remove all doubt. This is about the students. Something I've said several times before is this: anger and allegations by students should be seen for what it is. This is their life, their future. They cannot risk even the slightest ambiguity here. Advocating for more transparency in India's NEET exam is not about undermining the integrity of the system, but rather about fortifying it. That's what the students here are actually doing. Now let me just break down for you what this year's NEET undergraduate 2024 exam is really about. This is the medical entrance examination. Here's where the problem has started, and here is the nub of this year's controversy. 67 candidates have got a perfect score of 720 out of 720, meaning 67 people together enjoy the All India rank of #1. It's never ever happened before. 6 out of these 67 who've gotten that perfect score are from one single centre in Faridabad in Haryana. 44 out of the 67 toppers answered a physics question incorrectly. 44 students are said to have got grace marks due to an error in the old NCERT textbooks. There was also a question about not having enough time. Those who did not attempt the physics question didn't get those grace marks. Some students got 718 or 719 marks out of 720. Experts say such scores are implausible within the marking system of NEET and the exams framework. It's just impossible to get 718 or 719. There has already been suspicion over a possible paper leak, but this has categorically been denied by the National Testing Agency as well as the Ministry of Education of the government. The Supreme Court today, based on a bunch of petitions by candidates, has sent notice to the National Testing Agency and the central government, asking them about the sanctity of NEET. Take a look at what happened today.
Students continue to protest a week after the results came out of NEET UG 2024. Number of them have knocked on the doors of the court. in one of the cases, the Supreme Court on Tuesday issued notice to the centre and National Testing Agency over a petition seeking to cancel results of the NEET UG 2024. The court observed that the ultra-competitive medical undergraduate admission examination is, and I quote, not that simple, that because you have done it, it is sacrosanct, unquote, and the court told the NTA, I quote, sanctity of the examination has been affected, so we need answers, unquote.
The Honorable Supreme Court, one of the judges observed that it seems that with so much allegations coming, and of course they are also aware of the news, that there seems to be some lack of clarity in the proceedings, or purity of proceedings seem to be under question. That is an observation that has come off the cuff from the Honorable judges, but it's not part of a judicial record.
The National Testing Agency, meanwhile, has said earlier that there was transparency in releasing results and there were no discrepancies in results published.
The Apex Court was hearing a fresh petition in the ongoing row over the NEET UG 2024 results that claim discrepancies in scores and alleged preferential treatment to some students. The petition asked for the scores from the May 5 exam to be cancelled and for a fresh exam to be held. The court, though, said that counselling for admissions will continue, and the matter was then posted for further hearing on July 8.
Opposition has trained its guns against the government in this row, saying that the exams were biased against poor students and that it undermines federalism.
We are, we filed a case. We are fighting against NEET, and we will raise it in Parliament. Now, the whole country is seeing that how NEET is, wrong the students, how it's unfair.
The entire controversy erupted after 67 students who achieved a perfect score of 720 in the exams, with 6 of them identified as being from the same exam centre in Faridabad. With Kanu Sharda in Delhi and Pramod Madhav in Chennai, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, the reason why attention is being paid to what the students are saying this time about NEET is because this isn't the first time that the NEET exam has faced controversies. Let me just take you through a very cursory timeline of controversies over NEET exams. In May 2017, 9 people were arrested in Patna and Jaipur for an attempt to leak the NEET paper. In May 2017, a student was asked to remove innerwear before entering an exam center. September 2017, controversy over student Anita who died by suicide. The center declared that Tamil Nadu cannot be exempted from NEET. February 2018, students challenged the age limit for NEET in the top court. In May 2018, Sikh candidates were allowed by the court to wear religious articles after certain reservations were expressed earlier. May 2018, the National Human Rights Commission issued notice over alleged harassment during security checks for NEET exams. February 2023, Tamil Nadu government challenged the constitutional validity of NEET in the Supreme Court. So NEET has been politically hot and has been a big issue for students over many different years. The big questions that I'm asking today as I amplify the voices of students who are demanding transparency and a level playing field of merit in NEET. Number one, how did 6 candidates from one single center get a perfect score? How did that even happen? Why were NEET results declared earlier than scheduled? Some people believe that they were timed with the election results, so fewer people may be paying attention. How effective was security standard operating procedures to actually prevent any leaks? This is, remember, despite the government and the NTA clarifying that no leaks have taken place in NEET 2024. Are final scores and rankings valid given unequal grace marks? How does this grace marks work? Why is there no adequate transparency on how these have been given? Will NEET 2024 exam be reconducted is the big question. Will it be reconducted entirely? Will a certain part of it, a certain number of candidates be allowed to take the exam again? We don't know. Currently it's sub judice. It's with the Supreme Court, who's issued notice to the center and to the National Testing Agency. Let's hear directly from NEET students who've taken the exam, because it is them whose lives and future careers are now in question. Joining me live, Mohammad Akino Raza is a NEET aspirant. Aman Chauhan is also a NEET aspirant, and Arpit Dok is also a NEET aspirant. 3 students that you see on your screen right now are all NEET students, and I want to go to them one by one to ask them why they feel that some kind of malpractice and lack of transparency has taken place. Mohammad Raza, coming to you first. Why do you say that transparency has not been there in NEET 2024? Tell us your view.
Sir, my view on this is simple, that many students are getting a perfect score from a single center, which is not possible, which is not logically possible, and probably it's not possible. And there has been an explanation of grace marks given by the NTA, and there was no provision of grace marks in the prospectus that was provided before the examination. However, I am scoring far above the cutoff, but still some of my friends are facing very problems. There have been many issues, and many suicides are also happening in Kota and all the students that I know. And the result was also declared 10 days before the set date.
Yeah.
And there were many discrepancies in the result which were visible. Many students got impossible marks like 719 and 718, which is not possible mathematically. And the perfect score from a single center. There is a very less probability of having even 2 students from a single center.
Absolutely.
But there are approximately 6 to 7 students which are from the same center, and the NTA has given the clarification that this was possible due to grace marks. But there was it appears that they themselves gave them grace marks to give them a perfect score. And the explanation on grace marks is not at all acceptable, because the first of all, the provision was not there. Secondly, they have not cleared the formula on which they have given the grace marks. Correct. And they are not telling the range of the grace marks provided given to the students. They are just saying that we have given them on some
So Mohammad, you're completely rejecting the explanation that's been given by the NTA as far as grace marks are concerned, and the mechanism that has been used. Aman Chauhan, what would you say? You agree with Mohammad that the explanation provided so far is unacceptable?
Yes, sir, I agree with Mohammad in all aspects, because grace mark was never consideration in this type of exams, like competitive exams, what you will take grace marks for. Grace marks was never a thing. And the first discrepancy that happened was on the day of exam only. In Rajasthan, there was a paper leak before the exam only. And the second thing, some students are asking for re-NEET and all. But in my opinion, if you see, re-NEET is never an option. The correct option is re-evaluation of the results. Because re-NEET will be injustice to the students who have given the exams very properly with a lot of hard work and struggle. So in my opinion, Mohammad said right. So grace mark was never, you can say grace mark was never a proper thing.
Okay, so grace marks is leaving a lot of room for doubt. Both Mohammad and Aman say it is not about cancelling the exam and reconducting, but re-evaluation of marks. Arpit, where do you stand on this? What is your view?
So there has to be a proper investigation regarding the paper leak allegations in multiple places, because if the paper has been leaked, then the hardworking students who are working hard for this exam will not get a seat, for sure. And that's the reason, that's the main reason the cutoff is hiking so much.
Okay, stay with me, Mohammad, Aman and Arpit. I want you to stay with me because I want to get a view in, and I want all of you to stay with me and listen to Maheshwar Perry. He's the editor of Careers 360. He's been a very powerful voice on NEET over many years, and this time as well, he's been raising his voice, and he happens to join us live now. So I want the 3 NEET students who are with us live to be with us on this show to listen to what one of the foremost experts on this subject has to say. Maheshwar, welcome. Thank you very much for giving us your time here on India Today. Why do you, Maheshwar Perry, think this year's NEET is a scam? You have said that categorically. Why do you think it's a scam?
The issue that is being in the Supreme Court is about the leakage of paper, or for that matter, 1463 students who got the grace marks. But that is not the issue here, because let's assume for a moment that the 1463 students are removed from the current set, and then they're made to ask for a separate examination, and then you bring them back with the scores that they achieve. The issue is not just that. typically what we do is, as there's been a consistency in terms of the way the scores have come, and because of which you know that you will get into a particular college if you get a particular score, right? And the score leads to a rank, and the rank leads to a college, right? And look at the way it's happened this time around. And this time around, for example, last year, at a score of 700 out of 7, first of all, the 720 score till now, in all the history of NEET, not more than 3 people ever got 720 in a single examination. 3 people. In fact, in 2022, I think, no one got 720. The highest score was 715. 1 year, there was 1 person who was a topper, which is 720. Another year, it was 2 people. And 1 year, it was 3 people. This time, it's 67 people. That's unparalleled. Because
amazing.
If you put things in perspective, the topper of India, the first ranker of an examination, is not likely to get a seat in a college that he or she wants, because in AIMS Delhi, for example, there are only 56 seats. And there are 67 toppers. How do you deal with that situation? And how did 67 toppers come in? So that is the challenge that we're dealing with. And that is where I think there is a larger problem here. For example, let's go to the next level. Ignore the toppers for a moment and get to the next level. At 700 score, last time 294 students qualified. This time it's 1,770. Right. Typically, if you get a 20,000 rank, now you'll get into any government college. Now, 20,000 rank last year at 625, you could get about 16,000 rank. This stage at 625 marks, it's 53,000, which means 3.5 times of what it happened last time around. At 600, last time it was 28,000 rank. This time it's 80,000, which is about 3 times, again 3.5 times. So what happened is, across the board, the qualification mark has almost dramatically gone up by about 3.5, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times also in some scores. And when you have that kind of a thing, there is obviously, and it's not that all experts say that the paper is not so easy that people could, 67 can be the toppers, right? So the problem for me is not just about the toppers of 1463 students. Across the system, there seems to be something that happened which inflated the marks of thousands of people. And it is not because the paper is easy, because all experts say that the paper is not as easy as it is being made out to be.
Yeah. Now,
NTA came out and said that of the 67 students who got, 44 got grace marks, and that's what got. That is ridiculous. It is criminal to say that 44 students got a grace mark because of which they became a topper, right? But assuming that is true also, still you have 23 students who actually got 720 on 720. That again is not possible, because go through the history, not more than 1, 2, at the most 3. And there were years when there was not a single student who scored 720 on 720.
Exactly.
So the issue is not, and when I look at the scores, it is not just 1463, because if it's 1463 students only, you would not have 20,000 rank jumping to 70,000 rank, which means 50,000 people got on a similar score, more number of students sneaked in, right? So that is the problem that we're dealing with. There seems to be a large scale, I don't know what to call it, maybe a technical error that created something, or some malfeasance that's created something, or whatever the people are talking of, paper leak or grace marks or whatever it is. All this, maybe it's all of them added together, but there seems to be a much serious problem, and the students are in a pool at this point in time. We counsel 1,000 students a week, Shiv, on a Sunday. And this time the parents and students were crying, because they believed that when they got 650 marks, they got into a good college, and now they don't have a chance in hell. How do you explain that? And you can't explain this to students and parents, because when we work now, we always say, "Theek hai, itna mark lana hai hame. We need to get so many marks so that I can get into a college." That seems to have completely been demolished.
No, this is extremely disturbing coming from Maheshwar Perry, who has been in this, in the field of putting a spotlight on this system for many, many years. So he knows what he's talking about, especially since he interacts with the students and their parents. And therefore, the futures of these students can never be second-guessed. What they want in terms of transparency or a re-evaluation of the marks is not some vested interest. This is literally about their future. Mohammad, Arpit, Aman, continue to stay with me. I also want to bring onto our show, very importantly, Milan Sharma and Nidhi Taneja, two of my colleagues here at the India Today group, who make it their business to look very closely at the education system, at the NTA, at the education ministry specifically, as far as NEET is concerned. Milan, coming to you very quickly first. We've got 3 of our NEET students here, and millions of others obviously tuning in and watching this show right now, because India Today has taken it up on a war footing. The big question is, what happens next? The Supreme Court has issued notice now, Milan. What happens next?
Shiv, that's the million-dollar question, because when we ask the NTA Director General whether or not, in case, the results don't come in their favor, there's a recommendation committee of grievance that has also been set up. And what we were informed that within a week's time, perhaps this committee will come up with some recommendations. And based on those recommendations, whether or not NTA can actually redo this exam will be decided. And we straightforward asked the DG whether the National Testing Agency is ready to reconduct these examinations. There wasn't a clear answer, but he did hint at the fact that if there is a recommendation to this effect, they could perhaps look at doing this again. Remember that the recommendation committee has, members such as the, former chairperson of the UPSC. So the credibility of the committee cannot be questioned as such, but it's going to be a very difficult road to walk on for the NTA to conduct exams for 23 odd lakh students once again. And they say that the matter pertains only to 1,600 odd students, and they are trying everything they can to make sure that they are satisfied with the scores that have been received and that the grievances of all the students are being addressed at the moment, Shiv.
Okay, so it might be a limited kind of solution, not a complete re-examination under NEET, which would be a gargantuan task, we can all agree. Nidhi, you've been speaking to and interacting with NEET students, I know, for many, many years. Their concerns are very real. This is ultimately about the biggest next step in their education, where they're getting into a big professional course, studying medicine. Are you sensing that they have faith that the system will work for them, or it will once again be brushed under the carpet?
Yes. Shiv, firstly, this is not the first experience that students have been, having these concerns regarding the NEET exam. Previous years, we've seen that the NEET exam has been surrounded with controversies. Very sad and unfortunate to, say that. But this time around, there's a lot in under the scanner, specifically regarding the grace marks. We were just talking about, Perry sir was talking about grace marks, controversy surrounding the grace marks, because there is no probability in the NEET exam that can give you scores like 7, 18 and 19. And one thing that, caught my eye in the first place was the fact that NTA in the first place, any result, whenever any result is announced, there is a detailed PDF, there is a detailed file that says, see, grace marks have been given to these and these many people. But this time around, NTA had not specified any grace marks, they have not mentioned 1,500 students. It was only after the controversy that happened, it was only after 2 days of the controversy that the NTA had to do a press conference and had to announce that, see, we have given 1,500 students, we have awarded them grace marks, and that is the arbitrary awarding of grace marks that is under the scanner right now. And let me just add one thing to it as well, that Supreme Court today in the hearing has majorly dealt with the paper leak allegations. It has not really dealt with the controversy surrounding grace marks, which is more under the scanner. So in the coming days, we will see that the grace marks that will be subject to scrutiny, and NTA's role will be under question again.
Okay, very important. I'm almost out of time, but I want to give some time to our three students who are with us. Aman, Mohammed and Arpit. Nidhi and Milan happen to be two of the most committed reporters when it comes to NEET and education in the country right now. I want to give you the opportunity to ask them one question. Do you have any doubts about the way things are going right now? Mohammed, to you first. Would you like to ask any question or clear any doubt? Both Nidhi and Milan can answer that question for you. What's in your mind right now? What would you like to ask, Mohammed?
Ma'am, I would like to ask that when they cleared the grace marks issue, when they told us the grace marks issue, it was when we raised the issue of 719 and 18 marks. If we would have not asked the question that how did some students achieve 719 and 18 marks, would NTA have not told us about the grace marks? Why did they tell us about the
Milan, you want to answer that?
It was the issue of 719 and 18 marks. If some students have not got these marks and these students have gotten 720 out of 720.
Okay.
Would they tell us about the grace marks?
Milan, can you throw any light on that? Let Milan throw some light on that. Yeah.
So, when we asked the NTA DG that the issue of grace marks is something that's very important to the students because some of them are scoring 720 and full marks. So, it was said that it's based on a formula that is different for different students, and the calculation of that formula was not actually shared with us. That is one issue. The NTA should have clarified that this time they are going to award grace marks according to students for problems in a center or loss of time or any other answer key discrepancy that they had seen. So, it would have built the confidence of the student also had they announced earlier that there was going to be a grace marks provision, and that is something that the NTA should have done. But now that several of the students in the same center have received high marks, the NTA has also wanted to say that maybe papers were easier in terms of the previous years. 15% syllabus was cut down from the previous years, and that is why perhaps the cutoffs are also higher this time. We always see that happening. But of course, this is not, Mohammed, this is not enough explanation for the students at the moment who are distraught, with these, bizarre marks that have come forward.
Okay, very interesting. Rehan Sarfaraz is also a NEET aspirant and he's also with us live. Since we announced this show, we've been getting a lot of interest from students who want to voice their concerns here. Rehan, since you're just joining us, we have Milan and Nidhi, two of India's best education reporters tracking NEET and this entire case. I'm giving you time to ask one question, Rehan. What is your major concern over the NEET this year? What question would you like answered?
Sir, my major concern was releasing NEET results preponed.
The results, you're talking about the results
inflation of mark, inflation of rank about 4 times or 5 times compared to last year.
Let me get Nidhi to answer that. Nidhi, the results being declared a few days earlier, people want some clarity on that. There have been various conspiracy theories as well. Nidhi, how would you answer that?
If we are talking about the date controversy, see, NTA was supposed to announce the NEET results on the 14th of June. However, the results were announced on 4th of June, which you and me were busy in the elections, and that is what the allegations are about. The allegations say that when the entire country would be busy in elections and deciding on what the outcome of the election is, that is when the NEET results would be, and that are the allegations that are put to suppress the alleged irregularities.
Aman, anything in your mind that you'd like to clear from either Nidhi or Milan?
Because we've been talking about the grace marks issue. This also happens to be one of the clarifications that was given by NTA, that they gave the grace marks according to the CLAT court order, that was given by the court. And that is the, justification that they are using it. There was a normalization formula that was used by NTA after there was a judgment where the common law admission test also in 2018 had to, get some sort of grace mark. So that is one reason why they have put this forward this time. But of course, the real problem is that they did not mention it to the students that they'll be using it for NEET as well, because this was a CLAT, order on a CLAT exam. That is where the confusion started, Shiv.
Okay, that's where the confusion started. Okay, I have time for one more question that I want to put to Maheshwar Perry, who's been very patient and stayed with us. Mr. Perry, what is your gut feel? You've said technical glitch or some kind of malpractice. There appears to be no complete clarity just yet about which it is, but you've spent many years looking at NEET, looking at these entrance examinations. What is your gut feel? Where does the rot lie? We know that there is a lack of transparency, but do you think it's a glitch or do you think it's malpractice, or both?
I think, first of all, NTI is not transparent, Shiv. See, for example, when you actually have grace marks and those kind of situations, like we've seen it in state boards and CBSE and all, where suddenly there is a dispute of what is the right answer for a particular question. So the CBSE or the state board or the examination authority comes out and says, listen, there seems to be 2 answers for one particular question, so we're going to give marks for both the answers, right? They announce it while announcing the result. They don't hide it under the carpet, and when question grilled, they come out with a response, right? So NTA seem to be hiding something. Otherwise, why? It was no big test case that, you come out and say, listen, there were 1460 students who got it and we're compensating them with some marks, right? It's as simple as that. And people do understand that because there are many examinations that were conducted in 2 periods. Whenever some issue happened, like in Manipur it happened, in Northeast it happened, in Kashmir it happened, where exams could not be held on a particular day and they were held on a next day, right? Here the thing is, NTA seems to be responding to a question that's coming in and giving a clarification, which is adding to the fuel to the fire, then actually upfront coming and saying, this is how we went about doing it, this is what happened. Listen, there are 24 lakh students who took the test. They wait for years and years to take the test. Exactly. You simply can't be playing around and giving grace marks and giving clarifications as and when asked, instead of making it fully transparent and clear.
Which is what the students are asking.
I hope, Shiv, I just hope that it's some technical error that happened, because paper leak and all those things, you need to reconduct the examination. If it's a technical error, then you go back to what exactly happened. You have the OMR sheets and you can deal with the whole thing.
And I'd like to thank Maheshwar Perry for giving us his wisdom and his views on this story in motion. And I call it a story in motion because the Supreme Court has now stepped in, so we'll have to see what actually happens. Hanging in the balance are the fates, the futures of thousands of students who've taken the NEET exam. I'd like to thank Mohammad, Arpit, Aman and Rehan for giving us their time, and especially to Milan and Nidhi for taking some of those questions and keeping track of a story that is not just about a headline, but about the futures of India's doctors. That's the next generation of doctors. Now, I have taken competitive exams when I was a student, when I had finished school. The priority needs to be not just transparency. The thumb rule of any exam of this kind on which hinges the future of students is that it needs to be bulletproof. It needs to be beyond question. It needs to be able to answer reliably and in a persuasive way anything that is thrown at it. It can't just be about a series of clarifications as an afterthought. That is what is required from NEET. We'll have to wait and see, and we will continue to raise the voices and questions of students who've taken this exam all over the country. Thanks very much to all of my guests for joining me today. There's breaking news on this story right now. Well, the opposition has raised the pitch over the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Exam, the NEET row. The DMK in Tamil Nadu has said it will raise the NEET issue in Parliament, not for the first time. The DMK raising the heat on the NEET issue. The DMK reiterating its stand, saying that the NEET is unfair and that students have been wronged. Will NEET be one of the big flashpoints in the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament is a big question. The DMK making it another big issue.